Good morning. After some distractions the last couple of weeks, I'm back online for the Wednesday talk, which I have been giving. And today, back in the 9th chapter of the Bhagavat Gita. Begin with a short prayer. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I who was born with my eyes blinded by the darkness of ignorance, offer my obeisances and my deep respects and gratitude unto my Guru Maharaj and unto all my teachers who have opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we were hearing in the 9th chapter Krishna has set his intention in this particular sequence of teaching. He says to Arjuna, I'm going to teach you a great secret. Rahasyam Uttamam, the highest secret, I'm going to teach you. The greatest Guhyatamam, another word, the greatest secret. So pay attention. And he begins to explain that I pervade this whole universe, but I'm hidden. All beings are in me, and yet at the same time, I am not in them. I am far away. And yet also, I'm the very source of everything. See how the mighty wind blowing everywhere moves always within the vastness of space. So all beings move in me. We cannot separate ourselves from Krishna. I create and dissolve these material energies. I send forth the beings again and again into this vastness where they are helpless in the embrace of nature. And then this week, verse number 9, Krishna says, I am completely detached from all this. So let's just read it. Let's hear the Sanskrit of this verse. Nachamam tani karmani nibadnanti dhananjaya udasinavad asinam asaktam teshu karmasu. Nachamam tani karmani nibadnanti dhananjaya udasinavadasinam ashaktam teshu karmasu. O Dhananjaya, Dhananjaya, Srila Prabhupada translates. Dhananjaya is the name for Arjuna. O Dhananjaya, all this work cannot bind me. I am ever detached, seated as though neutral. So this is one of the transcendental qualities of Krishna, detachment. Although actually he is profoundly involved in all of this, he says this work earlier on in the fourth chapter, I believe, third chapter, Krishna says, if I were to cease working for even a moment, everything would be ruined. It's that invisible flow of energy which Krishna is sending in amongst us, empowering all his created agents to maintain this cosmos. It is work, but Krishna says here that this work doesn't bind me, I'm completely neutral from it. The work that goes on all around us, sort of in the background, so to speak, the rising of the sun, the blowing of the wind, the flowing of the waters, filling the ocean, and then the water evaporated into the sky, and again deposited on the mountains and flowing back across the land. All this work is going on, and it's easy to take it for granted not to notice it. I find these days, I spent much of my life living in central London, and there one could easily be almost oblivious of the forces of nature. You could hardly see the sun sort of above the street. It would come from one side of the houses and then go onto the other side. Not like here, where I live on a hill in Glastonbury in Somerset, and I'm acutely aware of the passage of the sun, rising, crossing the heavens and setting, and the blowing of the wind, the falling of the rain. There is a constant activity. And in the garden here where we live, creatures everywhere, small and large, constant activity. So all this is maintained by Krishna. And each of us, we are a sort of like a universe in microcosm, because in my body all the elements are present, and everything is functioning in perfect balance. There is a river that flows through each one of us. We absorb water when we drink it, and also in the food that we eat. The water enters and it goes to work inside us, fulfilling all the needs of the body, and then it brings in nourishment, and then it also acts as a cleansing agent. As the water passes through the organs, it extracts the impurities from our bodily system, and then it exits, and so there is a constant flow. And all this is done without my conscious interference at all. All I can do is augment the passage of the water by drinking water. That's always a good practice, one I'm not particularly good at, but I remember that Prabhupada, he always had water close to hand, and he was constantly taking sips of water all day long. So my body itself is like a cosmos, is like a universe, and in the heart of my body, Krishna is also present. But Krishna says here, this work, it cannot bind me. I'm neutral. I'm detached. Asinam. Asinam, similar word to asanam. Asanam means the seat. So asinam means sitting. And udasinavad, Krishna is, although he's sitting here, he's detached from it all. And that is Prabhupada teaches us that this is a attractive quality of Krishna, his detachment. It's not that, it doesn't mean he doesn't care. It doesn't mean that at all. Prabhupada, in his explanation here, he gives the example of the High Court judge sitting on his bench. By his order, so many things are happening. Someone is being hanged, someone is being put into jail, someone is awarded a huge amount of wealth. But of course the judge is neutral. However, this does not mean that the judge doesn't care. The judge, I guess, to a great extent, he might or she hide their feelings, when they see the distress that passes through their court. They can't allow themselves to become too emotionally involved, but it doesn't mean they don't care, not at all. A good judge, at least. So similarly, it's a feature of love, isn't it? True love doesn't necessarily seek to interfere in a person's life. There are times when the act of love requires me not to interfere, but simply to, shall we say, hold a loving space. So in that sense, we could say, Krishna, in his creative aspect, which we call Vishnu, he is supervising all of this, and he's holding the space. And perfect neutrality is being displayed, so that each of us can pursue our own desires without interference, but in a safe space. Just like a parent may set the child some play and allow the child freedom to sort of wander around in the garden or whatever, and keep a watchful eye, but not interfere. So in this way, Krishna is always keeping an eye. Everywhere, eyes and ears, his hands and legs. The Isha Upanishad tells us this. But Krishna says, I'm detached. Now Prabhupada gives a very interesting viewpoint here in his explanation. He says one shouldn't think that Krishna has no engagement. Although in the form of Vishnu, Krishna, this work is going on, but Krishna is detached. So one should not think that Krishna has nothing. In his spiritual world, Prabhupada said, he's always busy. And he quotes from the Brahma Samhita. He is always involved in his eternal, blissful, spiritual activities, but he has nothing to do with the material world. So, in his eternal realm, Krishna is exchanging loving affairs with all his devoted companions. And there he's not in control, actually. He's playing. And sometimes we learn that Krishna is astonished at how things unfold. But it's all play. But he's not involved in the dualities of this world. So this is how, if we associate ourselves, consciously associate ourselves with Krishna, this natural quality of detachment will arise in my heart and in my mind. My mind will become peaceful, even in the face of gain and loss. I will not be disturbed. I will simply observe it. It does not mean that I don't care. I will try to do my best in this world, to honour my obligations and to care for those around me, and also to care for myself and my physical existence. I will try to use my time well, but always with this sense of detachment, observing these things going on, observing without getting caught up in it too much. And that will come naturally by associating myself with Krishna. It will come of its own accord, because it is the nature of the Spirit, the eternal Spirit, is filled with an inner sense of joy and completeness. So I don't need to control and exploit and get entangled in this world in order to find, true satisfaction, because I have it inside. And so the recommendation is always, in all spiritual paths, we will find at their heart a regular practice of prayer, or some form of meditation, remembrance, and to glorify God in any condition, to sing his praises. And this will nurture and nourish and awaken my inner sense of peace and balance. So here in this verse, Krishna is saying how detached he is, but it's no accident that he says Dhananjaya. He addresses Arjuna by one of his names. So he makes it instantly personal. Although he's saying I'm detached, he is talking to his friend. We hear this in the Gita in more than one place, that Arjuna is Krishna's friend. And this sense of friendship is an essential part of the spiritual growth and the spiritual journey, is to feel this loving friendship. Although Krishna is detached from the affairs of this world, he's not detached from me. He loves me dearly. And he wants me to feel that love that he's offering and to return it, because he knows that in returning that love and in expanding the love between us, between me and Krishna, that love can expand infinitely. That is where my true joy and happiness lies. And that is what I'm searching for, every one of us. We're looking for that love. So that's today's verse. And in the midst of all the affairs of life, whether I am in a state of loss or a state of gain, in a state of joy or a state of pain, at all times I can, by regular practice of remembrance, and the most powerful way of remembrance is hearing and chanting. This simple practice, Shravanam, to hear the messages of God, and Kirtanam, to chant the glories of God, which is best performed in the association of other like-minded souls. So somehow or other, to connect with one another, to hear, to chant, this will ever deepen my remembrance of Krishna's love. So, to finish with the verse, O Dhananjaya, all this work cannot bind me. I am ever detached, seated as though neutral. We'll finish with some chanting. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to all the devotees.